Welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Hammer, brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. I am your host, Gershwin, and I'm here with my two co-hosts,
The Sound Alchemist.
Docile Creature.
and today we're going to be talking about the worst races in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, or in reality, all of Dungeons & Dragons lore. Which are the races that you would never want to see come into a party and venture with? It's a tough question because at the end of the day, it's really a bullshit question. It's just what type of flaws do we see in the characters that exist in 5e in terms of in comparison to one another? Because we all know the human gets that huge buff of getting a feat right off the bat, and then you have someone like the Tabaxi, who can basically have a double movement, but then at the same time you have the dwarf, who can only move 25, and his flavor fluff is that he can't get drunk.
But the dwarf, I think, is the only race in the game that gets 2+2s. So
Oh, really?
2 and +1.
Out of all of the races then you've played, because Docile Creature has the most experience in Dungeons & Dragons, which is the race that when you see them come to a party or join your party, you just think, oh great, another one of these.
So, kind of like you said, disclaimer, all races are great. I honestly, I don't really hate any races, but the worst race in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, probably all Dungeons & Dragons.
Now, is this opinion or is this stat-based?
This, because I'm saying it, is fact.
Oh, all right.
We have to go with it. He's the OG of D&D for our group. So what is it?
The Gnome. I'm embracing the meme.
The Gnome.
The Gnome is the worst race in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
All right. I'm not going to say no, but I'll jive with it.
I'm going to say gnome. So here's why.
Spit it out.
They're children.
They're children.
They're children. We, all three of us, just recently...
Are not children.
Yes. We all recently played in the D&D campaign.
Together, yes. Mm-hmm.
And one of us, Gershwin...
I am.
...plays a gnome.
I am, yeah.
And every session that I can remember you playing that gnome, including last session,
Okay.
we made jokes about your height.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. It's true.
Every session.
Yes.
You can't take gnomes seriously.
That's true. It's like you ask, oh, can I speak to your manager? And you see a gnome walk around the corner. You're going to think like, okay.
Can I speak to your father?
Yeah. Can I speak to your district manager?
It is a huge disturbance
In the force.
for like any party when they do have a gnome, because there is always that one character who cares all about height, cares all about who's the toughest. Half the time he's not even the barbarian; he's just some nobody. But he always asks, "Wait, what's happening to the midget or the little person gnome? Is he gonna get trampled because he's in a bar and the bar's busy?" Is he going to get trampled because we're in a town that, whatever it may be? It is annoying. It has been annoying for the past couple games, but it always comes from the same person. So it's if you're going to play a gnome,
Be ready for the jokes.
but also use that to your advantage and have a role-playing reason as to, whatever situation might come up.
So then, jumping off of that, if you are the smallest in the room, wouldn't that make your sneak a little bit better?
It should. It's not mechanical. It's the DM has to be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
It's like you're in a town of Goliaths. Obviously, they're going to pay little heed to you.
So then that would be a good way if you do want to play a gnome and you know that your party is just going to make fun of you for that. Do things like that where you use your height to your advantage. Go around, pickpocket people while you're at the bar. Go around at the carnival and see if you can steal from the carnies.
Yeah.
Things like that. But yeah, I do get what Docile Creature is saying, though. It has been a reoccurring joke that is played out. It's played out.
Definitely.
I feel like everybody gets their licks in pretty often. But you may be asking yourselves, why the gnome and why not the halfling? How come the halfling is not getting the hate?
Because
Nobody even plays the half.
Yeah,
right?
because it's like they're the hobbits. They got a whole movie,
agree.
a franchise, like,
But I mean, gnomes have lore.
but they're not as like well known in the media as hobbits and halflings.
They're trash. I feel like, yeah, like you said, hobbits, halflings, trademark,
Right.
are more iconic in a way. Like you can play Frodo, you can play Bilbo,
Mm-hmm.
you can play like the halfling thief is an archetype that people want to play.
Right.
But when it comes to gnomes, it's like you're a knockoff halfling.
Yeah.
It's like there's not enough difference there for me to differentiate the characters.
As someone who's playing a gnome and who saw the stats of the gnome, there is a really badass kind of role playing idea within the Dungeons and Dragons player handbook, where like you could be the tinker. So you actually get the ability to create. I think they give you 3 different machines that you can create.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun. So if you do want something with statistical, like something that you can do as a gnome that other races can't do.
The artificer.
Yeah, and it's fun. It really is. I mean, that's not the one that I chose because the whole purpose of me. Well, the whole it's cool. You create. I think one of them is like a time piece.
Yeah, there's like a little fire starter, a little noise maker. The thing is, my problem with that is all of those things are pretty trash. I get it. It's a racial ability. They're small things that don't make a huge impact.
They're situational. Yeah.
And also, if you really think about it, any race can do that. Any race can be a tinker,
but not a given, right?
but not given. But if my character, my half orc barbarian goes to the store, is proficient with tinker's tools, gets some supplies, he can make a little fire starter.
Yeah. What I would say
Takes
is
a little role play.
what I would say though is for the gnome, just to defend the gnome a little bit more. If you are an experienced D&D player, it's fun to try to roleplay something that you're already going to have disadvantage with. In terms of the role-playing aspect of it. It is somebody that you can really dive into their height and like their uniqueness within the rest of the races, because everybody's a towering giant, basically a murder hobo. Meanwhile, you are this small little...
And that's kind of my last point, is in a world of giants, half-orcs, literal Goliaths, what place does a tiny little gnome have? If we're adventuring with these beefy, massive dudes, I get it. You can be a wizard. He's a fine little wizard. But, like, it just doesn't fit with me.
Yeah, I understand. It's like you're going to slay a dragon. What help is the gnome going to be?
It's like, I've got the half-orc with his giant axe. I got the Goliath with his sword and shield. I got the elf with his 2 scimitars. There's a gnome, too.
Yeah.
In the back with a book, though.
He's riding on the Goliath's shoulder, because that's, I mean, if you're going to do that, that's what
you need to
doing.
ride.
At least, I'd say, if you're going to play a gnome, make him cute. Be like the face of the army.
Yeah.
Or the party.
That's one way
That
of
could
role
give
playing
you,
it.
like the beefy characters might not be all that wise or charismatic, so have your gnome up there in front being like, hey guys.
Yeah. Be like, oh, hi, like, I need 100 gold from you right now, or something bad's going to happen. Like, they're not going to believe the gnome.
Right.
And then you could ambush them with, like, 5 beefy guys in the back.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing the gnome is good for is bait.
Bait.
Makes sense. Yep. You got it. I agree.
That's what you guys should do then. From now on, just make poor little Hannibal the bait.
I'm down. I'm for it.
Yeah. What about you, Sound Alchemist?
So, during this talk about the gnome, I've been trying to figure out which one is my least favorite race, and I have 3 that I can't pick a top. And, like, it's so... I'm just going to go out and say it. It is the Naga, the Drow, and the human.
So let's start off with the Naga.
The Naga, they're snake people, and to me, I feel like they're very villainous.
Yeah.
Like if you play a snake person, you're kind of like playing like the more shady character, somebody that's out for your own good or for the good of your god. at the behest of everybody else.
Yep.
So you're essentially going to be a hindrance to the party if you're playing a character with these traits.
Now, the cool thing about the Naga is it's supposed to have a reptilian kind of mind, right?
Yeah.
Where almost to the same extent as the Tyranids in Warhammer 40k, with like they're supposed to answer to a hive mind. Am I correct?
So,
Or is that just the lizard folk?
you're talking about the Yonti?
Yonti, that's what it is.
Just
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that I
Right,
know.
right. Yeah.
The Yonti, yeah, they're not so much as a hive mind. They just have more snake-like minds. Like they're less emotional. They're more
Like
stoic.
They're amoral.
Yeah.
They're not good or evil. They're kind of evil, but they do what suits them in the moment.
Right.
So you don't think that having a character that gives you the ability to be indifferent about a situation and analyze
because
it and just like
empathy is what ties you together. And if you're less empathetic, that's not going to create that bond between the party members.
So you're saying if someone who plays a Yanti, he's more than likely going to be the one where like every other member in the party needs to put in the extra effort to bind to the
rein
party.
him in.
Yeah.
I see that, but I also see that how that could be a cool role-playing ability within the group. So instead of role-playing with like whatever NPC you find on the road, you're really role-playing with the Yanti to bring into the fabric of the party.
Yeah, he's like that bad boy you think you can tame.
And nobody likes that stereotype, right? Because I feel like we've talked about this in the past, but whenever a player comes into the group, it seems like being the bad boy seems like the cool thing to do.
I mean, in D&D, feel like most people want to play the edgelord,
Yeah.
shifty guy who I work in the shadows. I work alone. It's like that doesn't work for D&D.
Right, yeah.
I mean, for the shadows, sure, but you can't really play the lone wolf in D&D. It's a group game. It's not meant to be played like that. But I definitely get what you're saying. It could be difficult for a new player to kind of play that alien mindset because obviously we're moral creatures.
We're warm-blooded, not cold-blooded.
Yeah, and it might be weird to kind of role play that, and I'm guessing that most people would just not play it like that. They're just a snake dude that like.
I mean, obviously it depends. Like if you homebrew and you say, Yuanti aren't less empathetic and they're actually nice people, then yeah, sure, whatever. But based on the handbook, it's kind of pushing it towards that.
Yeah.
That's that type of mindset.
That does definitely differentiate the race a little bit in a cool way that I think is pretty sweet.
And that pretty much ties it in with the drow, at least my points. Because the drow are, again, they're like the shifty guys. They're, like you said, they're the edgelords. They live in the Underdark. And they have a huge, huge disadvantage being out in the sun.
Yeah, and that's another traditionally, quote-unquote, evil race.
Yep.
Like 90% of them are evil, but I'm playing the one good guy. You want to be the Drizzt guy from the books.
Yeah, with his panther companion.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
And honestly, drow was one of my least favorite races like when I first started playing because it seemed like everyone wanted to be a drow rogue. That it was too much for me.
Yeah.
I definitely understand the bias against them.
Right. And the last one I want to talk about is the human.
That I agree with.
Yeah. I have the same mindset as I do with 40K. Why play a human or the Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum, when you have all these fantastical races to choose from? Mm-hmm. It's like you're playing essentially yourself just in a fantasy setting. Why not be an Archangel Asimar or like a demonic tiefling or anything really? But you're picking to be just a regular old bland human? Why?
To the point where even the creators of the game understand that, and they have to give the human a feat before he even starts playing. Before session 0, it's like, you know what? Give him an extra buff because this guy's probably not going to be the one to choose from.
As someone who has played a lot of humans and enjoys playing humans, here's my stance.
All right, rebuttal. Whatever you say, I'm going to say no.
In 40K, I get it. I would never play Astra Militarum. But in D&D, us now, we're humans. That's your main point. Why would you want to play a human?
Yeah.
You're basically playing yourself.
Right.
But I
don't give yourself away, though.
Sorry. I'm actually a snake person. But in D&D, it's interesting to play from a perspective of a human in a world populated by non-humans or in a fantastical element. I think that's another aspect to be explored. Like, you're not just playing yourself. It's not like, okay, I'm going to play a human in D&D. I'm going to get up at 9, go to work
Right.
till 5, come home, make dinner, blah, blah. You're not doing that. You're still in a fantasy world. And having the perspective of a human, which we have the most experience with because we're not any other race, I feel like is valuable. A valuable perspective in a D&D group.
Right.
Which is why I like
Yeah.
playing humans, because everybody has dark vision. Cool. It's like, oh no, I don't. I'm a human. I'm just a dude. Can we like light a torch or something? And oh, I live for thousands of years. No, I'm probably gonna be dead next week because this world is really scary. It's
dangerous.
It's an interesting perspective that we all know.
Yeah.
Because we're all humans, and bringing that into another world, another setting, I think is valuable.
I think the reason that you feel that way, and I understand that completely, but I think for newcomers coming to D&D for the first time, playing a human would not be a good choice. So I feel like if you are an experienced player, having that additional role playing kind of twist to it, where you are supposed to just be yourself in a world with dragons and all this kind of stuff. Yes, that is fun. It would be great role playing experience. But for a new person, I would say explore. I'm kind of in the same boat as the Sound Alchemist, where it's like the human. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something you should play right off the bat. Try an elf. Try a Dragonborn, a Tiefling, before you venture into the human and kind of try to backtrack and say like no. And also it depends on what the world you're playing is,
Right.
Because if you, most of the time I've experienced DMs that just do they create a world where fantasy elements aren't really like extravagant.
Yeah.
Using magic is not uncommon.
Yeah.
You know this. So as a human, playing a human and being surprised by like this tiefling, by this orc, is a badass thing. But most of the time, the worlds that you play in, a human should know what an orc is. A human should know what a gnome is, in the worlds that we play in.
And I definitely agree where new players shouldn't, and I don't think they do necessarily pick humans all that often.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's flashier option, and a human is not flashy. And I'll admit that if they didn't get a feat at first level, I probably would play less humans, but I still like playing humans. Yeah, that's just my thought on it.
Yeah. If you are thinking of playing D&D and you have a fixed character from like either another fantasy setting or another like historical setting, a human would be kind of cool, because you could be King Arthur. You could be like a specific individual that you see from a different universe and trying to bring him into D&D.
Yeah.
And more than likely, you are going to try to be a human. So that part is kind of cool, where you can pick a character from a different universe and try to play him in D&D or in a fantasy setting, because that is kind of fun.
Right. Or you could play yourself. Like, how would you react in D&D?
Which most of the time you end up doing. Whatever race you play, unless you're a good actor, you're probably just gonna end up playing yourself.
I feel like that's a new player thing too. Like when you're just getting into D&D, you're not gonna have this character most of the time fleshed out, and you're gonna play a completely different person. You're just gonna kind of play you in the skin of whatever race you pick and whatever class you pick, and that's just a normal thing.
Yeah. Because it's also the whole role-playing aspect. Like, you got to come up with like a different accent and like different inflection, different personality. And if you've never done this before, first of all, it's going to be difficult. And second of all, you're going to be super like embarrassed, especially if you're playing with like new people and not like your friends and stuff like that.
Even with friends, like it can be hard to act in front of your friends that you never do anything like that with.
Right.
So the human might be the easy way out, quote unquote, to just kind of like, oh, it's just me. Whereas if you play Yanti, it's like, oh, I got to try to be this weird alien mindset, and maybe I want to try to do a voice. Maybe I'll go a lot.
Yeah.
Have a lisp.
There you go.
Yeah. Out of all the races that I was thinking about, really just the Dragonborn doesn't seem like something that I would want to play. It's I understand why people would want to play it. I mean, it's half dragon, half humanoid, but looking like, why not just play a paladin? Like, choose an orc who's a paladin, choose any other like big beefy character or race, and then just make him a paladin, because that's what I feel.
Because it's a freaking dragon.
It's not a dragon though.
It's as close as you can get to a dragon.
It's not. You can just talk to your DM and try to play the dragon itself. Like, you could just be like
But it's not like in the book. Like, if you're trying to be 100% in the book, then you can't be a dragon.
But counterpoint, you could be a sorcerer with a draconic ancestry and be any race.
Yeah.
And then you can be part dragon. But I definitely agree. I don't know what it is about Dragonborn that I don't like. I think it's because they're so close to dragons that I don't like it. It's weird because Dragonborn was another race that I initially did not like. And it's in my homebrew world that I DM in, there are no Dragonborns. But for some reason, lizard folk, I love. They're one of my favorite races because they're more mundane than being half freaking dragon.
Yeah, another thing, I when it comes to Dragonborn, I think whoever's going to play a Dragonborn comes into it from a sense of, like, I want to be a badass because I want to be as close to a dragon as possible. And like we talked about with the edgelords, if you want to play something badass, build your way up to being a badass.
Yes.
And not just being or from level 1 and then all of a sudden thinking like, I'm a Dragonborn, I'm supposed to be treated a certain way in this world because I'm part dragon. And I think that's another reason why Dragonborns really don't seem like
While that can be a cool role-playing thing, like you're arrogant because I have the blood of the dragon in me, you're absolutely right on a whole, like, we can do a whole podcast about this, but not trying to start your character off as a badass, but knowing that, like, you're going to be playing this character for X amount of sessions for the X amount of time.
Right.
Build him into a badass. Build her into a badass. And it's going to be way more gratifying, satisfying to see your character at the beginning when he's a peasant, and then at the end when he's a badass, whatever.
Because it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, my character has slain hundreds of dragons, and you get taken out by a goblin at level 1.
Or your backstory has, I slayed hundreds of dragons, and then I'm level 1. Like, why are you level 1 if you killed all these dragons? Or I'm a veteran in a war. It's like, no, you're not. You're level 1. Like, come on.
Yeah. And now there are ways to play a Dragonborn to make it interesting. So you can be like the lowly squire, or play a squire-esque person, and you're kind of trying to build your way up, and you happen to be a Dragonborn, and they treat you a little different. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So coming from royalty, but I feel like there's other races that do that a little bit better.
High elf.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is a sense of forceness to the Dragonborn lore that I think the creators of D&D did realize. Yeah, a lot of people want to play dragons for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Let's just give them something and let's create the lore. Whereas, like what you were saying with the lizard folk, no, they are their own thing. They're supposed to have a completely alien mindset.
Yeah.
A Dragonborn doesn't have that. Their
some
alien,
reason.
their alien mindset should be arrogance and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess that might be another reason why I don't like them as much, is because lizard folk, they're lizard people, so they feel like lizards.
They feel real.
Where Dragonborn just feel like scaly people, like regular people.
Yeah.
They're not as different. Like, they're part dragon, but they're not as different from anybody else, like, mentally, that it differentiated enough to make it exciting to play, to me.
Yeah, it's almost like you're already as playing a Dragonborn is like starting the campaign at the very last spot when you should be facing like dragons and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, you have to fight the wolf that's going to end up killing you, which was what happened to me in my very first D&D campaign. The wolf killed me.
Well, it was a combination of the wolf and then the Aarakocra trying to save you and rolling a 1 and shooting you with an arrow.
Yes, that Aarakocra who rolled that natural 1, which reminds me, Aarakocra as a race can also be, I don't see them as being a bad race to play, but there are a lot of DMs that might see them as a barrier to get through because of their ability to fly.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I bet people are going to be surprised we didn't say the Aarakocra because of that. But feel like that's just lazy DMing.
Yeah.
Yes, big time. And I think we all kind of came to that consensus because of that. We've all seen somebody play an Aarakocra, and their flying ability isn't as great as people might
You
think.
played one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not like, yes, you could fly, but put somebody in a cavern, all of a sudden the flying is pointless.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You could fly if you want, but you're only going to be like 2 inches above the head of the tiefling or the Goliath.
And it's definitely a good ability. Like, it's a powerful ability at level 1. But it forces your DM to think more, I guess, than they normally would have to. But I mean, that's part of the game.
And
You
it's
gotta-
not really that hard. Instead of saying all the goblins, instead of having swords and shields, one has a
Bows.
crossbow.
Yeah, or all of
Yeah.
them do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, this guy's flying up there shooting magic at us. Let's focus him down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys ever played a race that initially you thought was going to be awesome, and then all of a sudden, once you start playing it, you're like, you know what, this isn't really that fun? Because I had that experience when I played my Triton
Oh, the
Paladin.
yeah.
Xavier.
Was it the trident
Or the
part
paladin,
or the
yeah.
paladin part?
It was a little bit of both. The paladin part was kind of cool because I got to smite, and when you're in a combat situation and it's really what you control is your hit, and when you can control how much damage you do and how much how well you can hit, that's a lot better than anything else.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was a sea creature and he was supposed to come from a different world, and that world is like completely different than the normal like human world, or not human world, but like the air world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was kind of difficult to role play. It's something that you need to think about playing your character in the next session before playing it. So kind of like the DM has to plan the session. If you're going to play a creature like this, you kind of have to plan how you're going to react to mundane things beforehand. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that kind of like the Yuan-ti, like because it is an alien mind, every session you play has to be something that you think of beforehand, kind of.
Yeah, since you're not a snake person in real
Right,
life,
right.
you have to think about the world and your decisions and how your
Yeah.
perspective
Mhm.
through this weird mindset where you're not used to thinking about.
Right, but it's something else added on top of it. It's like obviously you're not a trident person, a mermaid, for so to speak.
Yeah.
Now you got to think, oh, so now I'm not a mermaid and I'm not used to the land people and all their customs.
Yeah. So
So that's-
if you're getting into DM for the purpose of acting, definitely try to do something that's really out of your comfort zone. But if you are just trying to be a murder hobo,
Yeah.
maybe playing the Trident is not the best choice.
That or just completely ignore all the alienness of it and
Which
just
I ended up doing.
play
Yeah.
it like a normal person.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean I feel like that's a common thing because most
Yeah.
people aren't going to think about it as, oh, I've been underwater my whole life or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this doodad?
Yeah.
It's a fork.
Exactly. I just want to be a part of this world, guys.
Have you guys had that situation happen though?
Not with race, with class, yes.
Same. Yeah, it's more with class for me because I play a lot of humans.
Yeah.
So if you
okay.
say you don't like human, is that saying like you don't like yourself?
Yes.
Yes, this is a cry for help, everybody out there.
Yes. But really, at the end of the day, it's whatever race you do choose, it's gonna be fun. You just need to put in a little bit more effort. And if you really end up not liking your race, kill yourself.
Or just walk away. You
Is
can
that-
retire
No,
your
no, no.
character without killing
Is
yourself.
that even a thing you can do in D&D? Just commit suicide?
I mean, what's the DM gonna say? No.
He could.
Yeah.
The worst that could happen is be like, depending on how you do it, is another party member heals you before you die.
Yeah.
Or brings you back after you're dead.
That's true.
Which has happened.
Yeah.
that
And then they like
sucks.
put manacles on you so you don't try to do it.
They throw
again.
you in a mental hospital and you're just in a padded room for the rest of the campaign.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That'd
you're
be
just sitting there,
fun.
Yeah.
hoping that the pizza gets there a little earlier, so you can leave early.
Yes, but yeah, you can definitely retire a character. You don't have to kill yourself.
Killing yourself.
But
is
if you
fun.
are going to kill yourself, go on a blaze of glory. That's what I say.
maybe, yeah,
Take another party member with you.
that never works. That really never works.
No, don't do that.
That's a topic for a different story.
Yes, it is.
Killing other NPCs.
Or PCs.
Yep.
Now, comment down below. Let us know what type of races you guys really don't enjoy playing, and yeah, we would love to talk to you guys in the comment section. This has been Gershwan.
Docile creature.
And the Sound Alchemist.
Out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.